An old miser lived in a house with a garden. The miser hid his gold coins in a pit under some stones in the garden.
It's mine.
Every day, before going to bed, the miser went to the stones where he hid the gold and counted the coins. He continued this routine every day and never spent any of his gold. One day, a thief who knew the old miser's routine waited for the old man to go back into his house. After it was dark, the thief went to the hiding place and took the gold. The next day, the old miser found that his treasure was missing and started crying loudly. The neighbor heard the miser's cries and asked what happened. After finding out, the neighbor asked, "Why didn't you save the money inside the house? It would have been easier to access the money when you had to buy something."
I never used the gold to buy anything,
said the miser.
I was never going to spend it.
After hearing this, the neighbor threw a stone into the pit and said, "If that is the case, save the stone. It is as worthless as the gold you have lost." That day, the miser learned that possessions are just as worthy of what they are used for. A long time ago, far away in the deep jungle of China, lived a nightingale. This nightingale had a beautiful voice, and when it sang, it enchanted everyone who listened to the song.
Have you heard the bird that sings?
Oh, yes. It's a beautiful bird.
Oh, yes, I've heard it too.
Very good singing.
Near the jungle, an emperor lived in his grand castle. The emperor's castle was the most beautiful thing in the world. It was made entirely of the finest stones, and the king had everything he could ever need. One day, the emperor heard about the nightingale and asked one of his servants,
Why have I not been told of this nightingale? It shall sing here this evening, or the entire court will be punished.
At once, all the people at the castle started searching for the bird. They went through the jungle, straight to the place where the nightingale was singing.
Birdie.
Birdie.
They were amazed when they heard the bird sing.
Little Nightingale,
Called out one of the men.
will you come with us and sing on the Emperor's court?
With pleasure.
The nightingale agreed. The grand evening arrived, and the nightingale sang the most wonderful song for the court.
Ooh, wow, that sounds good.
So beautiful.
How amazing!
After hearing the song, everyone was charmed with the nightingale.
You shall have my golden slippers.
The emperor said, deciding to reward the beautiful creature. The emperor was so pleased with the bird that he decided to keep it in his palace. The nightingale sang and sang at the emperor's court, and soon everyone in China was talking about the bird. But the poor bird did not feel happy in the cage. The bird wanted to be free and sing in the jungle. One day, the king of Japan sent a beautiful artificial nightingale. This nightingale was covered with precious gems and sang wonderfully too.
Ooh, how amazing,
The emperor said. The beautiful toy was placed on a silk cushion near the emperor's bed, but it could sing only one song. Everyone forgot about the real nightingale, so when the real bird had the chance, it flew away, back to the deep green jungle. One day, the artificial bird broke its spring and could not sing any longer, and the emperor became very sick.
Oh, is he okay? I don't know. I've heard he's very sick.
The emperor's courtier thought he might die. The poor king lay stiff and pale in his massive bed. The real nightingale heard the news, so she decided to fly into the emperor's chamber and sang one of her most beautiful songs. When he heard the bird sing, he sat up. The next morning, The Emperor was smiling happy.
Is he well already?
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah, he's looking fine. Yeah.
Oh, hello. Yes, I'm feeling very good, thank you. All is better now. Yes.
So he said to the Nightingale,
You must always stay with me. You may sing whenever you please, and I shall break the fake nightingale into 1,000 pieces.
No, you mustn't. The toy did all it could. I can't build a nest here in the castle. So let me come whenever I like, and I will sit on a branch and sing to you.
The Emperor happily agreed. He had now realized that it was not fair to cage the beautiful bird without her will. She belonged to the woods. She was a free bird. The Emperor ruled for many years, and the Nightingale visited frequently. In ancient Greece, there was a king named Midas. He had a lot of gold and everything he needed.
2, 3, 4, 5. So many coins.
He also had a beautiful daughter. Midas loved his gold very much, but he loved his daughter more than his riches.
Come here, my daughter.
Daddy, don't do that.
One day, a man got drunk and passed out in Midas' rose garden.
Thank you, Dionysus. That was some good party we had over there.
Believing that this kind of things always brings good luck, Midas let the man rest in his palace until he was sober, against his wife and daughter's wishes,
Daddy, please. Just don't let him stay there.
said his daughter.
I beg you, Midas, tell him to go away.
His wife said.
No, no, no.
But Midas refused to do this
Please, Daddy, come on.
because
No.
this man was Dionysus' friend, the god of wine and celebration.
Oh, come on, Midas.
No, no, no.
Tell him to go away. We don't want him here.
Upon learning Midas' kindness toward his friend, Dionysus decided to reward him.
As a reward for your kindness, I'm going to make your wish come true.
Dionysus said. Midas replied.
I wish everything I touch turns into gold.
Although Dionysus knew it was not a great idea, he granted Midas his wish. Happy that his wish was granted, Midas went around touching random things in the garden and the palace. All of those things immediately turned into gold. He touched an apple, and it turned into a shiny golden apple.
Gold. Everything is gold.
People at the castle were astonished, but happy to see so much gold in the palace.
That's so much gold.
Are we sure that's a good thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Sounds good, but kind of scary.
In his happiness, Midas went and hugged his daughter,
No, Daddy, no.
and before he could realize, he had turned her into a lifeless golden statue.
No, no, my baby girl.
Midas ran back to the garden and called Dionysus.
No. Dionysus. Dionysus.
He begged the god to take away his power and save his daughter.
Please, I beg of you. Give me back my daughter, please.
Dionysus gave Midas a solution to change everything back to how it was before the wish. Midas learned his lesson and lived the rest of his life happy with what he had. Once upon a time, a man sold his well to a farmer. The next day, when the farmer went to draw the water from the well, the man did not allow him to draw the water from it.
No.
The man said,
I have sold you the well, not the water, so you cannot draw the water from the well.
The farmer became very sad and came to the emperor's court. He told everything to the emperor and asked for justice. The emperor called Birbal and handed over this case to him. Birbal called the man who sold the well to the farmer.
Birbal, come here.
Birbal asked,
Why don't you let him use the water of the well? You have sold the well to the farmer.
The man replied,
Birbal, I have sold the well to the farmer, not the water. He has no right to draw the water from the well.
Then Bilbo smiled and said to him,
Good, but look. Since you have sold the well to this farmer, and you claim that the water is yours, then you have no right to keep your water in the farmer's well. Either you pay rent to the farmer to keep your water in his well, or you take it all out of his well immediately.
The man understood that his trick had failed and learned that cheating will not get you anything. If you cheat, you'll pay for it soon enough. Once upon a time, there were 3 happy little pigs. The first little pig played the flute. The second little pig played the violin. And the third little pig played the piano. One day, their mother said,
Dearest sons, you are old enough and big enough to leave home and start your own life. Be wise and take good care of yourselves and of each other.
So the 3 pigs left home, and they each decided to build a house. The first little pig gathered some straw and built his house very quickly.
Now the wolf can't catch me and eat me,
He said happily, and went back to playing the flute and dancing. The second little pig made his house of sticks.
Great! Now the wolf can't eat me either.
He thought. His house didn't take very long to build either, and he soon joined his brother, playing games and making music. They were playing and singing, and all the while the third little pig was still building his house of bricks. The other 2 little pigs laughed at him for working so hard, but he didn't mind. Instead, he said,
When the big bad wolf comes, you'll see what happens.
Sometime later, the pigs were working outside, when all of a sudden, the big bad wolf came. Each pig went into his house to hide.
Little pig, let me come in,
Said the wolf to the first little pig.
Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin.
Said the first little pig bravely.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
The wolf said. He huffed and he puffed, and he blew the first little pig's house away. The pig squealed and ran to his brother's house.
Little pigs, let me come in,
Said the wolf to the 2 little pigs. Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin, said the second little pig, bravely.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
He huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the sticks house away. The 2 little pigs squealed and ran into the brick house their brother had built.
Little pigs, let me come in,
Said the wolf to the 3 little pigs.
Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin.
Said the third little pig, bravely.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
The wolf said. The wolf huffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, and he puffed. But even with all the huffing and puffing, he couldn't blow the brick house down. But this was a cunning wolf. He had another idea. He decided to break in the house through the chimney. But the clever little pig had already thought about that. There was a pot of boiling water simmering away on the fire. The big bad wolf fell into the hot pot, shouted, and ran away. The two pigs understood their brother's lesson and decided not to be lazy anymore. The very next day, they built houses of bricks. Now the first and the second little pigs had all the time in the world to play the flute, the violin, and to sing. The third little pig accompanied them on the piano, and the three lived happily ever after, safe and sound in their little brick houses. Once upon a time, there was an underwater realm where every sea creature that human beings had only known in their imagination lived. The realm was ruled by King Triton, who had 5 beautiful mermaid daughters. Ariel, the youngest, was more intelligent and more curious than her sisters. She dreamt of going to the surface to contemplate the beauty of the sky and to get to know humans closely. King Triton was aware of her daughter's wishes. Thus, he lived constantly worried about her. However, to make her happy, he promised her that when she turned 15, she would be able to surface on the condition that she would never approach humans. Ariel was eager for her birthday. When the day arrived, her father allowed her to surface, and without hesitation, she swam to the surface and saw that the sky was as beautiful as it had been described. Minutes later, she saw a strange object approaching her. It was an extraordinary ship. Ariel was amazed at it and immediately hid behind a rock so as not to be seen, but stayed close enough to be able to observe who was on board. Thus, for the first time in her life, Ariel saw humans. She was enchanted by one of the crew members. His name was Eric. He was the captain of the ship, and on that day, there was a party to honor him. However, the joy lasted short. A big storm came over them, creating huge waves that hit the ship, making half of the crew fall into the sea, including Eric. When Ariel saw what was happening, she decided to help him get to the shore. After waking up, Eric could see the beautiful mermaid who had saved his life. When they looked at each other, they immediately fell in love. But since Ariel knew it was an impossible love, she fled to the depths of the sea before Eric could speak to her. A couple of days went by. Neither of them could stop thinking about the other. Ariel was deeply in love. Every afternoon, she would escape to her secret shelter, where she kept remains of Eric's ship. Her behavior was so weird that her father decided to follow her. He got angry when he saw what Ariel was hiding and forbade her from returning to the surface.
He only wanted to protect her from the cruel human world. Thus, Ariel decided to visit Ursula, the evil sea witch, and asked her to use her magic to turn her into a human being. She was so in love with Eric that she would do anything, no matter how hard it was. And surely it was. I've prepared a concoction for you to have 2 legs, but you have to pay a price, Ursula exclaimed. I want your most precious gift. Your boys, she added. My boys? Ariel asked. But if I can't speak, how is the prince going to kiss me? She added. Why do you want it? If you have your beauty, Ursula asked. I'm sure you'll get him, she replied. Ariel had 3 days to kiss Eric and recover her voice. If she didn't make it, she would be a mermaid again and lose her voice. Not taking any risk into account, she accepted and went for Eric. The couple could have kissed each other several times for 3 days, but Ursula kept interrupting them. Once the term was over, Ariel became a mermaid again. The evil Ursula took the body and the voice of the beautiful mermaid and placed a spell on Eric, who later proposed marriage to the witch. Fortunately, all sea creatures heard the news and prevented the wedding from taking place, and warned King Triton of what was happening. With his power, King Triton revealed Ursula's identity, and Ariel recovered her voice. Eric understood that he had been deceived and kissed Ariel without caring she was a mermaid. After that kiss, Ariel and Eric's dream came true, and her tail turned into legs. The couple lived happily ever after, achieving harmony between the realm of humans and the realm of mermaids. The tortoise was resting under a tree on which a bird had built his nest. The tortoise spoke to the bird mockingly.
What a shabby home you have. It is made of broken twigs. It has no roof and looks crude. What's worse is that you had to build it yourself. I think my house, which is my shell, is much better than your pathetic nest.
Yes, it is made of broken sticks. Looks shabby and is open to the elements of nature. It is crude, but I built it and I like it,
said the bird.
I guess it's just like any other nest, but not better than mine,
said the tortoise.
You must be jealous of my shell, though.
On the contrary,
the bird replied.
My home has space for my family and friends. Your shell cannot accommodate anyone other than you. Maybe you have a better house, but I have a better home,
said the bird happily. The tortoise felt sad because she knew that what the bird had said was true. A crowded hut is better than a lonely mansion. A wild donkey once lived in the woods. He had no friends and lived all alone. One day, a jackal passing by saw the donkey. He went up to him and said,
What is the matter? Why do you look so sad, my dear fellow?
The donkey turned to the jackal and said,
I have no friends and I'm very lonely.
Well, don't worry. I will be your friend from today.
The jackal comforted him. From that day, the donkey and the jackal became very good friends. They were always seen together. One moonlit evening, the jackal and the donkey were strolling through the woods. It was a cool and pleasant evening. As they walked on, they came to the outskirts of a village bordering the woods. There, in front of them, was a grove of fruit trees.
Ah, look! How wonderful and delicious these fruits look,
said the donkey.
Let's eat some of them.
Okay,
Said the jackal.
but let's do it very quietly.
They entered the grove and silently started to eat the fruits. After eating enough, they laid under a tree, happy and content,
That was delicious, but there is something missing tonight,
said the donkey.
What is that?
Asked the jackal.
Well, music, of course.
Answered the donkey, looking a little surprised. The jackal asked,
Where are we going to get music from?
Don't you know that I am an accomplished singer?
The jackal was alarmed.
Remember, we are in an orchard. If the farmer hears us, we will be in trouble. If you want to sing, let us go away from here.
He advised the donkey.
You think I can't sing, don't you?
Asked the donkey in a hurt voice.
Wait till you hear me.
The jackal realized that the donkey was not willing to take his good advice. He went and hid himself behind a clump of trees. The donkey threw back his head and started his song. He brayed aloud. The farmers, hearing the loud braying, came rushing with sticks. And gave the foolish donkey a severe beating that left the donkey feeling sore all over. After the farmers had left, the jackal went over to his friend.
Is this the prize you won for your singing?
They don't appreciate good music,
Replied a hurt and ashamed donkey. The jackal replied,
This is what happens when you don't listen to the advice given by a good friend. I hope you have learned the lesson.
Once upon a time, a cat and a mouse were very good friends and lived happily together in the same house. As winter was approaching, they decided to stock some food items, so they went to the market and bought a big pot of cheese. Fearing that all the cats and mice might steal their cheese, they hid it behind the altar in the church. The cat was very greedy. So after a few days, he had a great yearning to taste the cheese. He went to the mouse and told him that he was invited to baptize his cousin's child in the church. The mouse believed him, and the cat set out for his first steal. He ate a large chunk of the cheese and returned home happily. When the mouse asked him what the child was named, the cat replied, Top off. The mouse was surprised at the name. After a few days, the greedy cat wanted to have some cheese again and told the mouse that he had to baptize another child and rushed to the church. He finished half the cheese and told the mouse that this time the name of the child was
Half-corn.
After a few days, the cat made the same excuse and went again and finished the remaining cheese. This time, he told the mouse that the child's name was all gone. The mouse was puzzled by the cat's behavior, but did not say anything. When winter came, the mouse went to the church to get the cheese, but found out that it had vanished. At last, he understood the trick played by the greedy cat. Once upon a time, there was a queen that lived in a land where houses were covered in snow. One day, she pricked her finger with a needle while sewing.
Ouch!
3 drops of blood fell upon the snow, and she thought, I wish I had a daughter that had skin as white as snow, lips rosy as blood, and black hair as night. Her wish came true. She later gave birth to a baby daughter and named her Snow White. However, the queen died, and the king remarried the most beautiful lady in the kingdom. She had a magic mirror, and every day asked,
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
And the mirror would reply,
My queen, you are the fairest in the land.
But on Snow White's 17th birthday, the mirror changed his answer.
You, my queen, are fair, it is true, but Snow White is even fairer than you.
The queen flew into a jealous rage and ordered her huntsman to take Snow White into the woods and kill her. The poor huntsman took Snow White into the forest, but found himself unable to kill the girl. Instead, he let her go. Snow White was now all alone in the great forest, and she didn't know what to do. She walked until it was already dark. Then she saw a little house and decided to go inside. Everything in the house was small.
Aww.
She saw 7 plates, 7 forks, 7 knives, 7 spoons, and 7 glasses. Since she was hungry, Snow White grabbed a bite from each little plate and sat on one of the little chairs. Afterwards, because she was so tired, she laid down on one of the little beds and fell asleep. Later, the owners of the house returned home. They were the 7 dwarfs who worked in the mine. As soon as they arrived home, they saw that someone had been there. For not everything was in the same order as they had left it. The first one said,
Who has been eating from my plate?
The second one said,
Who has been eating with my fork?
The third one said,
Who has been drinking from my cup?
The fourth one said, Who was eating with my knife? The fifth one said,
Who has been using my napkin?
The sixth one said,
Who has been eating my bread?
The seventh one said,
Who has been sitting on my chair?
Once they entered the bedroom, they understood what had happened, and as soon as they saw Snow White, they cried out with amazement. They let her stay, and on the following day, she told them what had happened. The dwarfs felt sorry for her and warned her not to open the door. Back in the kingdom, the stepmother was sure that Snow White would no longer return. She stood in front of the mirror and asked,
Mirror, mirror, am I the fairest of them all?
The mirror replied,
My queen, you are a star, but the fairest is still Snow White.
The queen became furious and used her powers to find out where Snow White was. Once she knew, she poisoned an apple. Then, she dressed as a peasant and went into the woods. When she arrived, she knocked on the door. Snow White peered out of the window.
I must not let anyone in. The 7 dwarfs have forbidden me to do so.
Snow White said.
That's all right. I've got many apples, and I don't know what to do with them.
Answered the peasant woman.
In case you'd like one, here, I'll leave you one.
Snow White trusted the lady and bit the apple. She immediately fell to the floor. The queen was extremely happy because she got away with it. When the dwarfs arrived home, they tried to save her, but their efforts were in vain. They had a glass coffin made and laid her inside. Then they took it to the top of a hill. The 7 dwarfs were mourning Snow White's death when a prince, who was nearby, saw her and fell in love with her. He requested to open the coffin, and then he kissed her. Snow White woke up immediately.
Where am I?
She asked.
What happened?
Don't worry. You're safe and sound. And you make me the luckiest man in the world,
replied the prince. The dwarfs were very glad to see Snow White awake. Sometime later, Snow White and the prince married and lived in the castle, together with the dwarfs, happily ever after. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Jack who lived with his mother in a cabin in the woods. They did not have much money, so one day, the mother said,
Jack, go to town and sell our cows to have food in the winter. But do not trust the people you may come across on the way.
Jack left. Halfway, he met a mysterious old man with black eyes. They both stopped for lunch, and the old man showed Jack a little bag with some beans inside it.
You are a brave boy. I'll tell you a secret. These are magic beans. If you have them, something wonderful will happen.
The old man told Jack. Jack, who had already forgotten what his mother had told him, thought it would be a good opportunity. So he exchanged the cow for the beans and returned home very happy. When he arrived, the mother could not believe her eyes. She got so angry because of her son's disobedience that she threw the beans through the window. The next morning, a large plant had grown where the beans had fallen the night before. It was so high that it touched the sky. Jack saw the large plant and felt like climbing it. He went up and up through the clouds until he got to an enormous castle.
Whoa.
Jack went in carefully and saw a giant and a hen. The hen was not a regular hen. It was a hen that laid golden eggs every time the giant ordered it. Jack waited until the giant fell asleep and stole the hen. He escaped as fast as he could, went down the beanstalk and entered his house. His mother scolded him for being a disobedient boy, but she was also very happy because having the hen meant earning money. Even though Jack and his mother had enough money, he climbed up the beanstalk one more time. This time, he saw a magic object. A box that dropped a golden coin. When the giant went to bed, Jack stole the magic box, which started screaming.
Giant! Giant! Wake up, I'm being taken!
The giant woke up and chased Jack. They both got to the edge of the beanstalk. But before Jack could go down, the giant captured him. "Please don't eat me," Jack cried out.
I won't eat you. I just want my box back.
The giant answered.
Somebody stole my hen some time ago. The only thing I have are the coins I get from that box.
As soon as Jack heard the giant's request, he felt sorry. His life and his mother's life had changed because of having the hen, and they did not need anything else.
I'm so sorry. I have to tell you something. I was the one who took the hen. I did it because my mother and I did not have enough money.
Jack said.
I'll give your box and your hen back. I shouldn't have taken it,
he said. The giant was touched by Jack's words and said,
It wasn't right to take my things without permission. But recognizing your mistakes is very important. You may keep the hen.
Jack thanked the giant and returned home. He and his mother lived happily ever after as a result of the giant's generosity. Jack learned the lesson. He understood how important it is to be honest and to learn from your mistakes. Humpty Dumpty was a smooth, round little egg with a winning smile and a great golden heart in his broad breast. Only one thing troubled Humpty, and that was that he might fall and crack his thin, white skin. He wished to be hard all the way through, for he felt his heart wobble when he walked or ran. So off he went to the black hen for advice. This hen was kind and wise, so she was just the one for him to go with his trouble.
What you must do
Said the hen.
is to be very careful and pay attention to everything you do.
Humpty Dumpty did not care about what the hen said, so he continued to jump and skip as much as he liked.
This is useless.
One day, Humpty Dumpty climbed up and sat on a high brick wall. He sang and rocked his body. Suddenly, he lost his balance and fell to the ground. The black hen was nearby. She saw Humpty Dumpty fall, so she quickly rushed to help. But it was too late. Humpty Dumpty's shell was broken. His egg white and yolk were splattered all over the place. There was nothing that she could do to help Humpty Dumpty anymore. A little duckling was very sad because he thought he was the ugliest amongst all his brothers and sisters. They would not play with him and teased the poor ugly duckling. One day, he saw his reflection in the water and cried.
Nobody likes me. I'm so ugly.
He decided to leave home and went far away into the woods. Deep in the forest, he saw a cottage in which there lived an old woman, her hen, and her cat. The duckling stayed there for some time, but he was unhappy there, and soon left. When winter set in, the poor duckling almost froze to death. A peasant took him home to his wife and children. The poor duckling was terrified of the children and escaped. The ugly duckling spent the winter in a marshy pond. Finally, spring arrived. One day, the duckling saw a beautiful swan swimming in the pond and fell in love with her. But then he remembered how everyone made fun of him, and he bent his head down in shame. When he saw his own reflection in the water, he was astonished. He was not an ugly duckling anymore, but a handsome young swan. Now, he knew why he had looked so different from his brothers and sisters.
They were ducklings, but I was a baby swan,
he said to himself. He married the beautiful swan and lived happily ever after. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful girl who lived with her father in a large and luminous house. They've lived happily for many years, until one day the father fell in love with a woman and married her. That was how the family grew. And suddenly, it wasn't just her and her father. Now, she also had a stepmother and 2 stepsisters. The young lady thought it was the beginning of a beautiful period, but she had never imagined how cruel her new sisters were.
Does this fool have to be in the same room as we are?
One of the stepsisters asked.
If she wants to have some bread, she must earn it out of the kitchen.
The other one shouted. The stepsisters cruelly took off Cinderella's dresses and gave her all dirty clothes. Every day, the young lady got up, lit the fire, cleaned the house, cooked and washed the clothes. At night, she was forced to sleep on the ashes of the chimney. Consequently, she would always wear dirty clothes, and so they called her Cinderella. Some days later, the king gave a ball to which all ladies of the land were invited. The king wanted to meet them. Maybe he would fall in love and marry one of them. When the stepsisters heard about the ball, they were so excited that immediately began to choose dresses to make sure they looked gorgeous.
Comb our hair, clean our shoes, and iron our dresses.
Ordered the stepsisters.
We are going to the ball.
Cinderella, in tears, did everything she had been told to do. She also wanted to go to the castle, but her stepmother didn't let her.
Cinderella, do you expect to go to the ball? You have no shoes or a dress.
In response to Cinderella's pleas, the evil woman spilled the lentils that were in a bowl to the ground and said,
If you can collect them within an hour, you can go.
Cinderella ran to the garden. All the birds came to help her, and the lentils were immediately back in the bowl. The young lady was happy and ran to her stepmother to tell her that she'd finished the job. But her joy lasted short.
You don't have a fancy dress to go,
said the stepmother.
You can't dance. Everyone will laugh at you.
Cinderella broke into tears. Then the stepmother and stepsisters turned around and left. Once everyone was gone, Cinderella said,
I'd love to have someone to be nice to me.
Immediately, her wish was heard, and her fairy godmother showed up in the bedroom. She had a magic wand in her hands and said,
Don't cry. I will help you.
But how can you help me?
Cinderella asked. Immediately, The fairy touched Cinderella with her magic wand, and a beautiful dress and a pair of crystal shiny slippers appeared on her. She also turned a pumpkin into a carriage and 2 mice into its drivers. "You may go now," the fairy said. "Promise me that you will be home before midnight," she added. Cinderella went to the castle. As soon as she entered, everybody was enchanted by her beauty, including the prince, who immediately asked her to dance. They danced all night long. The prince was so delighted with her that there was no place in his heart for anybody else. Time passed so quickly that the bells began to ring, indicating it was already midnight. Cinderella was worried. Therefore, she ran to the exit, getting away from the prince. He went after her, but couldn't reach her. Fortunately, he realized there was still hope. At the end of the stairs, he found a slipper, one that Cinderella had lost. The next day, the prince visited every house in the kingdom, looking for his beloved. He had the slipper with him, and every young woman tried it on, but it didn't fit. When the prince arrived at Cinderella's home, the 2 stepsisters tried as hard as they could to make the slipper fit, but it didn't. Thinking there wasn't anybody else in the house, the prince was about to leave when Cinderella escaped from the bedroom where her stepmother had her locked in. She approached the prince, and he put the slipper on her feet without making any effort at all. Then, both looked at each other, and he immediately recognized Cinderella. He knew she was the one he had fallen in love with. The stepmother and stepsisters, full of rage, denied Cinderella was the young woman the prince was looking for, claiming she had not been at the party. Cinderella took the other crystal slipper out of the pocket of her apron. There was no doubt. The prince kneeled and proposed to her. She accepted, and they lived happily ever after. One day, Henny Penny was scratching in the farmyard, looking for something good to eat. And suddenly, something hit her on the head.
My goodness,
She said.
the sky must be falling down. I must go and tell the king.
She had not gone far when she met her friend, Cocky Locky.
Where are you going?
He called out,
I'm going to tell the king that the sky is falling down.
said Henny Penny,
I will come with you.
said Cocky Locky. So Henny Penny and Cocky Locky hurried along together towards the king's palace. On the way, they saw Ducky Lucky swimming on the pond.
Where are you going in such a hurry?
He called out,
We're going to the king's palace to tell him the sky is falling down.
replied Henny Penny,
I will come with you.
said Ducky Lucky, shaking the water off his feathers. So Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, and Ducky Lucky hurried on together towards the king's palace. Now on their way, they met Foxy Loxy, who asked,
Where are you going in such a hurry?
We're going to tell the king the sky is falling down.
replied Henny Penny.
We must go quickly, as there is no time to lose.
That is a very important message,
said Foxy Loxy.
I will come with you. In fact, if you follow me, I can show you a shortcut to the king's palace, so you will get there sooner.
So Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, and Ducky Lucky followed Foxy Loxy. He led them to the woods and up to a dark hole, which was the door to his home. Inside, his wife and 5 hungry children were waiting for him to bring home some dinner. That, I am sorry to say, was the end of Cocky Locky and Ducky Lucky, for they both followed Foxy Loxy into his home, and they were eaten up by the hungry fox family. Henny Penny was the last to enter the fox's hole, and she heard Cocky Locky crowing an alarm in front of her. Squawking with fright and scattering feathers, she turned and ran as fast as she could for the safety of her own farmyard. There she stayed, and she never did tell the king that the sky was falling down. Once upon a time, a farmer planted a beet. The beet grew and grew. One day, the farmer pulled on the beet. But the beet did not come up.
Hort, please help me pull up this beet. I want to eat it for dinner.
Said the farmer.
Sure, I'll help you.
Said the horse. But the beet did not come up. Then the farmer went to the cow.
Dear cow, please help me pull up this beet. I want to eat it for dinner.
Said the farmer.
Sure, I'll help.
Said the cow. But the beet did not come up. So the farmer went to a goat.
My lovely goat, please help me pull up this beet. I want to eat it for dinner.
Said the farmer.
Sure, I'll help.
Said the goat. But the beet did not come up. Next, the farmer went to the cat.
Oh, my dear cat, please help me pull up this beet. I want to eat it for dinner.
Said the farmer.
Sure, I'll help.
Said the cat. But again, the beet did not come up. So the farmer went to the mouse.
Lovely mouse, please help me pull up this beet. I want to eat it for dinner.
Said the farmer.
Sure, I'll help.
Said the mouse. The mouse came up with an idea.
Uh-huh.
So the mouse pulled on the cat. The cat pulled on the goat. And the goat pulled on the cow. The cow pulled on the horse. The horse pulled on the farmer. And the farmer pulled on the beet. And the beet came up.
Thank you, horse. Thank you, cow. Thank you, goat. Thank you, cat. And thank you, mouse.
Said the farmer.
Now we can all eat dinner.
Yay!
Yay!
And they did.
Yay!